The bright lights of the USS Horizon's bridge reflected off Captain Alan Pierce's worried face. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the main screen as the alien ships approached. 12 massive vessels, each one at least 3 times the size of the Horizon, moved with perfect coordination. Their hulls gleamed with a blue-green metal unknown to human science. "How long until they are in communication range?" Alan asked, his voice steady despite the tension. Lieutenant Olivia Wright looked up from her console. 2 minutes, Captain. All translation systems are ready." Alan nodded. Humanity had been exploring space for only 15 years since developing faster than light travel. They had small colonies on Mars and Europa, and had encountered only 3 alien species before today. All those meetings had been peaceful, but something about these ships felt different. Commander Samuel Davis moved to stand beside Alan. "Those aren't explorers or traders," he said quietly. "The formation, the design, those are warships." "Let's not jump to conclusions," Alan replied, though he agreed with the assessment. "Dr. Wright, what do we know about them?" Olivia tapped at her screen. "Nothing in our database matches their design. They're using an energy signature we've never seen before. Their technology appears to be at least a century ahead of ours." The bridge fell silent as the crew took in this information. Earth's military vessels were currently scattered across the solar system. The Horizon was a diplomatic ship, armed with only minimal weapons. If these aliens were hostile, the ship stood little chance. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission," announced the communications officer. Alan straightened his uniform. On screen. The main display flickered and an alien face appeared. It had pale blue skin, large oval eyes with no visible pupils, and a narrow mouth. Ridges of bone or cartilage ran along the sides of its head, where ears would be on a human. "This is Captain Alan Pierce of the Earth vessel USS Horizon. We come in peace and friendship, representing the United Earth Alliance." The alien studied Alan for a moment before speaking. Its mouth barely moved, but the translation system converted its sounds to English. "I am Supreme Commander Vex Tool of the Vexari Dominion. Your presence has been noted, primitive species." Alan kept his expression neutral despite the insult. "We are glad to make your acquaintance, Commander. We hope this meeting will be the beginning of beneficial relations between our peoples." The alien made a sound that the translation system couldn't process, but it sounded dismissive. "The Vexari Dominion does not establish relations with primitive species. We are here to inform you that your solar system now falls under our protection and authority. Your species will benefit greatly from our guidance." A cold feeling settled in Alan's stomach. He glanced at Samuel, who gave a subtle nod. This was exactly what they had feared. "Commander Vexistal, while we appreciate your offer, humanity is an independent species. We govern ourselves and wish to engage with other species as equals." The alien's expression didn't change, but its tone became harder. "You misunderstand, human. This is not an offer. The Vexari Dominion has claimed this sector of space. Your species will become a protectorate under our rule. Resistance would be unfortunate and ultimately futile." The bridge crew exchanged worried glances. Olivia quickly typed something on her screen, then slid it over to Alan. It read, "Similar speech patterns to historical Earth colonizers. They've likely done this before to other species." Alan took a deep breath. "Commander, I must be clear. Humanity values its freedom above all else. We have a long history of fighting to preserve it. We would strongly prefer peaceful coexistence, but we will not surrender our sovereignty." The alien's eyes narrowed slightly. "Your preference is noted but irrelevant. We have studied your capabilities. Your technology is primitive. Your military forces are minimal. You have no allies. Submission is your only logical choice." Samuel stepped forward. "Commander, with respect, you should know that humanity's history is filled with examples of technologically superior forces being defeated by determined resistance. We strongly urge you to reconsider your position." Vex Tool was silent for a moment. Then the translation system picked up what could only be laughter. A cold, mechanical sound. "Your threat is amusing. We have conquered species far more advanced than yours. The Vexari Dominion has stood for 10,000 years. Your primitive weapons and tactics are known to us and pose no threat. Alan stood taller. This is not a threat, Commander. This is a warning. Humanity may be young among the stars, but we have fought countless wars against ourselves. Violence is something we understand intimately. For your sake and ours, I ask you to respect our independence. The alien commander actually smiled, a thin, unsettling expression. Your warning has been recorded for our historical archives. It will make an amusing footnote when the story of Earth's integration is told. Vexatul turned to speak to someone off-screen, then faced the camera again. We are a generous species. You have 1 standard month to prepare your governments and population for integration. Our administrative fleet will arrive then to begin the process. Use this time wisely. The screen went black as the transmission ended. For several seconds, no one on the bridge spoke. Finally, Samuel broke the silence. Well, that went poorly. Alan turned to his crew, his expression grim. Send everything we have on the Vexari, ships to Earth immediately. Full technical analysis, weapons capabilities, the entire conversation. Then set course for Earth at maximum speed. You think they're serious, Captain? Olivia asked. Deadly serious, Alan replied. And we need to be ready when they return. As the horizon changed course, Alan watched the alien fleet on the long-range scanners. They weren't following. They didn't need to. They were completely confident in their superiority. Samuel joined him at the view screen. They really believe we'll just surrender. Alan nodded slowly. They've probably never encountered serious resistance before. Species probably see those ships and give up immediately. But we won't, Samuel said. It wasn't a question. No, we won't. Alan's voice was quiet but firm. Humanity has never bowed to tyrants, not even alien ones. Olivia approached them, her face pale but determined. I've analyzed their communication patterns against historical databases. They display all the hallmarks of an empire that's conquered repeatedly without significant challenges. They're arrogant, overconfident. That might be our only advantage, Alan said. As the horizon accelerated toward Earth, Alan thought about the laughter of the Vexari commander, the dismissal, the contempt. 1 month. That's all the time humanity had to prepare for an invasion by a vastly superior alien force. It wasn't much, but it would have to be enough. The Vexari had laughed at humanity's warning. Alan had a feeling they wouldn't be laughing for long. The emergency meeting room in the United Earth Alliance headquarters was filled to capacity. Representatives from every nation and colony sat around the massive circular table. Screens on the walls showed the Vexari ships that Captain Pierce and the USS Horizon had encountered 1 week ago. General Catherine Mitchell stood at the front of the room, her gray uniform crisp and her posture rigid. At 62 years old, she had seen more conflicts than anyone in the room, but never one like this. The Vexari fleet will return in 3 weeks, she said, her voice echoing in the silent room. Based on the data from the Horizon, their technology is approximately 100 years ahead of ours. Their weapons systems could destroy our largest military installations in minutes. The room remained quiet as this information sank in. Finally, the representative from China spoke up. Can we negotiate? Perhaps offer resources or technology exchange instead of complete surrender? Catherine shook her head. Captain Pierce tried that approach. The Vexari don't view us as equals worthy of negotiation. They see us as primitives to be ruled. Then what options do we have? Asked the representative from the Mars colony, a woman named Lisa Bennett. Our colony has barely 10,000 people and minimal defenses. Admiral Gregory Sullivan, commander of Earth's space fleet, stood up. He was a tall man with dark skin and a closely trimmed beard sprinkled with gray. We fight, he said simply. Murmurs filled the room. The representative from India leaned forward. With what? You just said their technology is a century beyond ours. That's correct. Gregory nodded. But they expect us to fight like they do. We won't. He pressed a button on his wrist device and the screens changed to show Earth's military assets. We have 27 space vessels with combat capabilities. The Vexari have hundreds. We cannot win a conventional battle. So we've already lost, said the European Union representative, his voice heavy with defeat. No, Gregory's voice was firm. Throughout human history, technologically superior forces have been defeated by opponents who refuse to fight on their terms. The Vexari expect submission or a direct confrontation they know they'll win. We will give them neither. Catherine took over again. We've already begun activating dormant defense protocols. Hidden installations around Earth and Mars are coming online. Civilian manufacturing is being converted to military production. What about Project Thunderbolt? Asked the Russian representative. Is it operational? Catherine nodded to a thin man with glasses sitting quietly in the corner. Dr. Eric Powell stood up, nervously adjusting his glasses. Project Thunderbolt was theoretical until last week, he said. But we've made significant progress. The system targets the specific frequency of energy shields. Our simulations suggest it could penetrate Vexari defenses, allowing conventional weapons to do damage. Simulations aren't reality, the Japanese representative pointed out. No, Eric admitted, but we don't have time for extensive testing. We're building the systems now based on our best understanding of their technology. Lisa Bennett from Mars Colony raised her hand. There's something else you should know. All eyes turned to her. 3 days ago, our excavation team discovered ruins on Mars. They're not human in origin. The room erupted in surprised conversations. Catherine banged her hand on the table for silence. Explain, she said to Lisa. The ruins appear to be a warning outpost of some kind. The symbols match nothing in our databases, but they contain images that clearly depict the Vexari, and they show the Vexari destroying other civilizations. Eric Powell leaned forward. How old are these ruins? Our preliminary dating suggests at least 50,000 years, Lisa replied. Gregory exchanged a significant look with Catherine. This confirms what we suspected. The Vexari have been conquering other species for a very long time. They're experienced at this. But it also means they've been defeated before, Catherine added. Otherwise, whoever built that outpost wouldn't have existed to warn others. The meeting continued for hours as they discussed strategies and preparations. By the end, a plan was forming. It wasn't perfect and the odds were still heavily against them, but it was something. After the representatives left, Catherine, Gregory, and Eric remained in the room. Will it work? Catherine asked quietly. Gregory sighed. Honestly, I don't know. We're asking civilians to become soldiers, engineers to become weapons designers, all in less than a month. We have no choice, Eric said, and we have one advantage the Vexari don't expect. What's that? Catherine asked. Humans are very, very good at war, Eric replied grimly. It's what we've done for thousands of years. Different weapons, same principles. Gregory nodded. And we're at our most dangerous when cornered. The Vexari think they've given us time to accept our fate. Instead, they've given us time to prepare our response. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of activity. Around the world, factories worked day and night producing components for the defense systems. In orbit, Earth's small fleet of military vessels underwent rapid modifications based on what they had learned about Vexari technology. On Mars, scientists worked around the clock to decipher more information from the ancient ruins. Each new translation revealed more about the Vexari and their tactics, as well as hints about their vulnerabilities. 16 days after the first contact, Admiral Sullivan called an emergency meeting with General Mitchell and Dr. Powell. The long-range scanners have detected movement, he said without preamble. A Vexari fleet is approaching, but it's smaller than the one Captain Pierce encountered. They're early, Catherine frowned. We still have almost 2 weeks before their deadline. Eric brought up the scanner data on his tablet. This looks like an advance force, maybe 10 ships total. Why would they come early with a smaller fleet? Catherine wondered. Gregory's expression darkened. Because they don't consider us a threat. This isn't their main invasion force. It's an administrative fleet coming to begin the integration process before the deadline. Are we ready? Catherine asked. No, Gregory admitted. Project Thunderbolt is only at 60% deployment. The fleet modifications are still underway. Then we need to stall them, Eric suggested. Make them think we're preparing to surrender. Buy more time. Gregory nodded slowly. We can have our diplomatic corps meet them. Act cooperative, appear submissive. Meanwhile, we continue preparations and keep our real intentions hidden. Catherine looked out the window at the busy military base below. Soldiers trained, vehicles moved, and in the distance, the massive form of a defense installation was taking shape. Let them think we're rolling over, she said quietly. When the time comes, they'll learn why humanity's history is written in blood and defiance. Commander Nicole Martinez sat perfectly still in the captain's chair of the stealth vessel Artemis. The ship floated silently in the shadow of Earth's moon, its experimental cloaking systems making it invisible to standard sensors. 5 other stealth ships were positioned nearby, all waiting for the signal. Status report, Nicole whispered, though there was no need to be quiet in space. Vexari Administrative Fleet has established orbit around Earth, her second officer replied. 7 ships total. Their main vessel is positioning above North America. Nicole nodded. The plan was in motion. For the past week, Earth's official representatives had been meeting with the Vexari, pretending to cooperate with the integration process. Meanwhile, the real preparations continued out of sight. What about Thunderbolt? She asked. Dr. Powell reports all systems are at 85% and ready for deployment. It wasn't perfect, but it would have to do. The Vexari had arrived earlier than expected, and humanity's time for preparation had run out. On Earth, Jack Peterson wiped sweat from his forehead as he made final adjustments to the targeting systems. 3 weeks ago, he had been a civilian engineer working on satellite technology. Now he was responsible for one of humanity's most important weapon systems. How's it looking? Asked the military technician beside him. As good as it's going to get, Jack replied. The system can track all 7 Vexari ships and target their shield frequencies, whether it actually works or not. He shrugged. We'll find out soon. The technician nodded grimly. Admiral Sullivan says we go in 30 minutes. Better finish up. Jack turned back to his console. The fate of humanity might depend on his work today. No pressure. Aboard the Vexari command ship, Commander Zexthal looked down at Earth with contempt. Such a primitive world, still polluted and overcrowded. The humans had been surprisingly cooperative so far, showing proper respect to their new masters. Perhaps this integration would be smoother than anticipated. The human representatives wish to speak with you again, his aide reported. Zexthal sighed. What do they want now? We've already explained the integration process 3 times. They claim to have a gift for you. A demonstration of respect. Very well. I'll meet them in the communication chamber. As Zexthal left the bridge, his weapons officer noticed something odd on the sensors. A brief energy spike near the planet's moon gone almost instantly. Probably just a glitch in the system. These primitive worlds always had such chaotic electromagnetic fields. He dismissed it without a second thought. In the command center beneath, the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Gregory Sullivan watched multiple screens showing the positions of Earth's forces and the Vexari ships. General Mitchell, are your ground teams in position? He asked over the secure communication line. Ready and waiting, Catherine's voice replied. Though I still think this is premature. We could use another week of preparation. We don't have another week, Gregory said firmly. The Vexari are already establishing ground bases in Africa and Asia. If we wait any longer, they'll have boots on the ground across the planet. He turned to his communications officer. Send the message to Commander Martinez. Operation Hornet's Nest is go. Behind the moon, Nicole Martinez received the transmission. She took a deep breath and addressed her crew. This is it, people. Everything we've trained for. The Vexari think we're just rolling over and showing our bellies. Time to show them how wrong they are. She pressed the command button on her chair. All ships power up weapon systems. Prepare to execute attack pattern Delta on my mark. The 6 stealth ships quietly moved out from behind the moon, approaching the unaware Vexari fleet from behind. On Earth, Jack Peterson received the same signal. "Thunderbolt is hot," he reported to his superior. "Targeting systems locked on all 7 Vexari vessels." Around the world, hidden missile installations powered up, their targeting systems linked to the Thunderbolt network. In the communication chamber of his ship, Zexthal was growing impatient. The human representatives were late for their meeting. Typical primitive behavior, no concept of proper time management. His aide approached nervously. "Commander, we're detecting unusual energy readings from the planet's surface." "What kind of readings?" Zexthal asked, suddenly alert. Before the aide could answer, the ship shuddered violently. Nicole Martinez watched with satisfaction as her fleet opened fire on the Vexari communication relays. The stealth approach had worked perfectly. They were right on top of the alien ships before being detected. "Target their engines next," she ordered. "Don't let them regroup." On Earth, Jack Peterson watched the screens as the Thunderbolt system fired. Beams of concentrated energy shot up from installations around the world, designed to match the exact frequency of Vexari shields and create temporary openings. "It's working!" someone shouted as the data came in. "Shield penetration on 3 vessels." Jack allowed himself a brief smile. The theoretical had become reality. Almost immediately, conventional missiles followed through the shield gaps, striking the hulls of the Vexari ships directly. Commander Zexthal stumbled as his ship rocked from multiple impacts. He reached the bridge to find chaos. "Report," he shouted. "We're under attack." His second-in-command replied, disbelief in his voice. "Human vessels behind us. Weapons fire from the planet's surface. 3 ships have hull breaches." "Impossible," Zexthal said. "Their technology is primitive. They can't penetrate our shields." Another blast hit the ship, stronger than before. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. "They've adapted their weapons to our shield frequency," the science officer reported, panic evident in his voice. "I don't understand how they could have developed this so quickly." Zexthal stared at the tactical display in shock. This wasn't supposed to happen. The humans were supposed to be submissive, grateful even, for Vexari guidance. Instead, they had launched a coordinated attack that was actually causing damage. "Send a message to the fleet," he ordered. "Defensive positions and contact the main invasion force. Tell them we need immediate assistance." In the Mountain Command Center, Admiral Sullivan watched the battle unfold with grim satisfaction. The element of surprise had worked. The stealth ships had taken out the Vexari communications before they could call for help, and Project Thunderbolt was creating openings in their supposedly impenetrable shields. "General Mitchell, deploy your ground forces," he ordered. "Target any Vexari attempting to establish land bases." Around the world, military units moved against the small Vexari ground forces that had already landed. The aliens, expecting to face minimal resistance, found themselves suddenly under attack from all sides. The battle raged for 3 hours. 2 of Earth's stealth ships were destroyed and several defense installations were hit by Vexari counterattacks. But by the end, 4 Vexari ships had been disabled, and the remaining 3 were in retreat, limping away from Earth at the highest speed they could manage. As the last Vexari ship prepared to jump to faster-than-light speed, Admiral Sullivan sent one final message. "To the Vexari fleet, that was just our opening statement. Consider carefully what comes next." On his damaged ship, Commander Zexthal received the message with fury and disbelief. How had these primitives done this? The invasion force would make them pay dearly for this defiance. But deep inside, something he hadn't felt in centuries began to stir. Fear. For the first time, the Vexari had encountered a species that fought back effectively. A species that had warned them once and perhaps should have been taken seriously. 3 months had passed since humanity's first victory against the Vexari. Earth had used this time wisely. Factories worked day and night producing weapons and ships. Scientists studied the damaged Vexari vessels that had been captured, learning their technology and adapting it for human use. Admiral Gregory Sullivan stood on the bridge of the newly completed flagship, Freedom. Built using a combination of human and adapted Vexari technology, it was the most powerful vessel humanity had ever created. But Gregory knew it was still not enough to face what was coming. Long-range sensors are picking up multiple ships entering the solar system, his sensor officer reported. Vexari signatures. At least 50 vessels. Gregory nodded grimly. The main invasion force. Right on schedule. He turned to his communications officer. Contact General Mitchell and Dr. Wright. Tell them it's time. Dr. Olivia Wright had spent the past 3 months studying everything about the Vexari, from the information in the ancient Mars ruins to data recovered from the captured ships. She had become Earth's foremost expert on the alien invaders. They've never faced prolonged resistance before, she explained to the military leaders gathered in the war room. In every previous conquest, the targeted species either surrendered immediately or was quickly overwhelmed by superior technology. So they don't know how to fight a real war, General Catherine Mitchell observed. Exactly, Olivia nodded. They expect quick victories. They don't adapt well to changing circumstances. And most importantly, they underestimate anyone they consider primitive. Catherine looked at the tactical display showing the approaching Vexari fleet. Let's hope that's enough of an advantage because they outnumber us 5-1. On the other side of the room, Commander Ryan Foster briefed his special operations team, 12 men and women who had trained for the most dangerous mission in the coming battle. The asteroid belt is rigged and ready, he told them. Once the Vexari fleet passes this point, he indicated a position on the display, we detonate the charges. That should create enough chaos for us to board their command ship. One of his team members looked skeptical. And then we just take over an alien ship? Ryan smiled thinly. Not take over, just plant these. He held up a small device. Dr. Powell's latest creation. Should disable their main weapons and navigation systems long enough for our fleet to target them. In the hangar bay of the Freedom, Lieutenant Heather Miller inspected her experimental fighter, Swift Justice. It was smaller than standard fighters but incorporated Vexari technology to make it faster and more maneuverable. How does she handle? Asked a technician working nearby. Like nothing I've ever flown, Heather replied, running her hand along the sleek hull. If the simulations are accurate, we should be able to outmaneuver anything the Vexari throw at us. The technician looked worried. There are 50 of their ships coming. Heather nodded. And 12 of these fighters. Not great odds, but better than none. Across the solar system, humanity prepared for the coming battle. Earth's main fleet, now 20 vessels strong thanks to accelerated construction, moved into position near Mars. The moon base activated its hidden defense grid. Even the small colony on Europa readied its limited defenses. The Vexari fleet entered the solar system with overwhelming confidence. High Commander Kel Vash stood on the bridge of his massive flagship, reviewing the battle plans. The humans have shown unexpected resistance, he told his officers, but their victory was against a small administrative fleet. They cannot stand against the full might of the Vexari Dominion. His second-in-command nodded in agreement. Our latest intelligence suggests they have perhaps 20 combat vessels. They will be crushed quickly. Kelvash studied the image of Earth on his screen. Once their fleet is destroyed, we will make an example of their planet. No species defies the Vexari and escapes punishment. He opened a communication channel to all ships in his fleet. This is High Commander Kelvash. Today we face a primitive species that has forgotten its place in the universe. Show no mercy. Their defiance ends today. As the Vexari fleet approached Mars orbit, Admiral Sullivan implemented Earth's battle plan. All ships, move to attack formation Delta, he ordered. Fighter squadrons, launch on my mark. The human fleet moved forward, appearing to engage in a conventional space battle. The Vexari ships responded exactly as expected, forming a standard attack pattern to counter them. They're taking the bait, Gregory observed. Commander Foster, you have a go. In the asteroid belt, Ryan Foster and his team activated the explosive charges they had planted over the past 2 months. Hundreds of precisely calculated explosions shattered asteroids into thousands of smaller pieces, all moving at high velocity toward the space between Mars and Earth, exactly where the Vexari fleet was positioned. Asteroid field weaponized, Ryan reported. Impact in 30 seconds. Gregory nodded. Lieutenant Miller, commence attack run. Heather Miller led her squadron of 12 experimental fighters out of the hangar bay. Swift Justice Squadron, form up on me. Remember the plan. We're not trying to destroy their ships. Just draw their fire and keep them occupied. The Swift Justice Squadron accelerated to incredible speeds, using the newly adapted technology to move faster than any human vessel had before. They streaked toward the Vexari fleet like 12 shooting stars. On his flagship, Kelvash noticed the strange readings. What are those small vessels? They're moving too fast for primitive technology. Before his officers could answer, the first wave of asteroid fragments struck the fleet. Alarms blared as smaller Vexari ships took damage from the unexpected projectiles. Evasive maneuvers, Kelvash ordered, but it was too late. The carefully calculated asteroid field had turned the orderly space around his fleet into a chaotic shooting gallery. In the confusion, Heather's squadron targeted the Vexari flagship, focusing their weapons on a specific section of its shield. "This is where Dr. Powell said their shield generator would be," she told her pilots. "Concentrate all fire on this point." The experimental weapons on the Swift Justice fighters, based on captured Vexari technology, struck the shields with precision. For several seconds, nothing seemed to happen. Then a small flicker appeared in the massive shield surrounding the Vexari flagship. "We've got a breach," Heather called. "Admiral Sullivan, we have a shield breach on the flagship." Gregory immediately issued new orders. "All available missiles target that breach. Commander Foster, execute boarding operation now." Ryan Foster's team launched from their hidden position, using small stealth craft to approach the Vexari flagship through the asteroid chaos. The breach in the shield was their only chance to get aboard. The battle transformed from an orderly space engagement into something the Vexari had never experienced before: asymmetric warfare across an entire solar system. Human ships attacked and retreated, never standing to fight directly. The asteroid field made normal formations impossible. The experimental fighters moved too quickly for Vexari targeting systems to lock onto them effectively. On the bridge of his flagship, High Commander Kelvash watched in growing fury and disbelief as his perfect battle plan disintegrated into chaos. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "They're primitives. They shouldn't be able to counter our tactics." An explosion rocked the ship as Earth's missiles found the shield breach. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, shock evident in his voice, "we're detecting human life signs inside the ship." Kelvash's eyes widened in disbelief. Impossible. The battle for the solar system had begun in earnest, and for the first time in centuries, the Vexari found themselves fighting an enemy they couldn't easily defeat. 1 year had passed since the battle of the solar system. The Vexari invasion force had been defeated, not through direct confrontation, but through humanity's unconventional tactics and surprising adaptability. Half the Vexari fleet had been destroyed or disabled. The rest had retreated beyond the solar system, but Earth knew they would return. In that year, humanity had accomplished what many thought impossible. They had reverse-engineered Vexari faster than light technology and built a formidable battle fleet. 20 massive warships and over 100 smaller vessels, all incorporating the best of human innovation and adapted alien technology. Admiral Gregory Sullivan stood on the bridge of the new flagship, Retribution. At twice the size of the Freedom, it represented humanity's determination to never again be at the mercy of alien invaders. "All ships report ready, Admiral," his first officer informed him. Gregory nodded. "Then it's time. Set course for the Vexari home system." The assembled fleet moved into formation around the Retribution. For the first time in human history, an Earth fleet was preparing to leave the solar system with the intent to take the fight to an enemy. Captain Amanda Clark commanded the second largest vessel in the fleet, the Defiance. Her ship would lead the first attack wave. She addressed her crew over the internal communication system. "Today we do what no human has done before. We travel to another star system not for exploration, but to ensure the safety of our home. The Vexari thought us primitive and weak. They laughed at our warnings. Now we show them the full measure of humanity's resolve." Dr. Eric Powell had spent the past year developing new weapons technology. His latest creation was not designed to destroy, but to disable. The device could shut down Vexari ships without destroying them completely. "Are you sure this will work?" Admiral Sullivan asked him as they made final preparations. Eric adjusted his glasses nervously. "The simulations are promising. If we can get close enough to their ships, we should be able to disable rather than destroy them." "And why is that important?" Gregory asked, though he already knew the answer. "Because according to Dr. Wright's research, the Vexari have conquered dozens of species. Those people deserve freedom, not to die in our crossfire." Gregory nodded with approval. Even facing an enemy that had tried to enslave them, humanity had not lost its compassion. The journey to the Vexari home system took 3 weeks using the adapted faster-than-light technology. When they arrived, sensors immediately detected hundreds of ships surrounding a blue-green planet. "They've recalled all their forces to defend their homeworld," Amanda reported from the Defiance. "Just as we predicted." Gregory studied the tactical display. "And look there, those smaller planets in the system. According to Dr. Wright's data, those should be the worlds of species the Vexari have conquered." On the Vexari homeworld, Supreme, Leader Kavex could not believe the reports. Humans, primitive, barely spacefaring humans, had brought a battle fleet to the Vexari system. It was unprecedented, unthinkable. "How could they have developed our technology so quickly?" he demanded of his advisors. "It took our scientists centuries to perfect faster-than-light travel. The humans appear to have an unusual capacity for adaptation," one advisor replied nervously. "They've not only copied our technology but improved upon it in certain ways." Kavex slammed his fist on the table. "It doesn't matter. We have defended our homeworld for 10,000 years. No species has ever successfully attacked us here. Order all ships to defensive positions." The human fleet moved into the system carefully, not rushing directly toward the Vexari homeworld. Instead, they approached the nearest subjugated planet. "All ships maintain position," Gregory ordered. "Dr. Powell, it's time to test your new technology." Eric activated the system he had spent a year developing. The Retribution projected a powerful communication signal that bypassed the Vexari communication blockers. For the first time in centuries, the enslaved species on the conquered worlds could receive transmissions not controlled by their Vexari masters. "People of the stars," Gregory's message began, translated into every language the ancient Mars ruins had recorded. "We are humans from the planet Earth. We too were targeted by the Vexari Dominion for conquest. We fought back, and now we've come to offer you the same chance for freedom." On dozens of worlds throughout the system, billions of beings heard the message. Many had lived under Vexari rule for so long they had almost forgotten freedom. Some had never known it at all. "We do not wish to destroy the Vexari," the message continued. "But their reign of conquest must end. Today we fight not just for Earth, but for all free peoples." The reaction was immediate. On several worlds, the subjugated species rose up against their Vexari overseers. Ships that had been forced to serve in the Vexari fleet suddenly turned against their masters. Supreme Leader Kavex watched in horror as his perfect empire began to fracture before his eyes. "Stop that transmission," he ordered frantically, "and put all planetary defense systems on maximum alert." The Vexari fleet moved to attack the human vessels, but they found themselves caught between two forces: the Earth fleet in front and rebellious former slave ships behind. Captain Amanda Clark led the first attack wave. The Defiance and its escort ships targeted the Vexari communication hubs, using Dr. Powell's technology to disable rather than destroy them. Shield frequencies matched, her weapons officer reported. Disruptors locked on target. "Fire," Amanda ordered calmly. The weapons struck the Vexari vessels, and instead of explosions there was a ripple of energy that washed over the alien ships. One by one, their systems went dark. On the Retribution, Gregory watched the battle unfold. Phase 1 complete. Now for Phase 2. Commander Foster, you have a go. Ryan Foster led boarding parties onto the disabled Vexari ships. Their mission was not to capture the vessels, but to free any enslaved crew from subjugated species. The battle for the Vexari home system lasted 3 days. By the end, half the Vexari fleet had been disabled, and the other half had surrendered when they saw the tide turning against them. The subjugated species, given hope and weapons by the humans, fought with the determination of those who had nothing to lose and everything to gain. On the fourth day, Admiral Sullivan sent a message directly to Supreme Leader Kavex. Your empire is finished. Your fleet is defeated. But unlike you, we do not seek to conquer. We offer terms: immediate freedom for all controlled worlds and reparations to the species you've enslaved. Kavex, seeing his 10,000-year empire crumbling around him, made one final desperate attempt. He ordered a direct attack on the Retribution using the planet's defense system. But even this failed. Dr. Powell's computer experts had infiltrated the Vexari network and planted a virus that shut down their weapons. In the end, Kavex had no choice but to surrender. 1 week after the battle, representatives from a dozen freed species gathered on the Retribution. Dr. Olivia Wright, who had studied the Vexari more than any other human, addressed them. We came to the stars hoping for friends, she said, looking at the diverse assembly of beings. We found oppressors instead, but in fighting them we found something better. Allies. Admiral Sullivan stood beside her. Today marks the end of the Vexari Dominion and the beginning of a new alliance of free worlds. We have much to learn from each other and much to rebuild. He turned to face the view screen showing the Vexari homeworld. We warned them once. They laughed. I don't see anyone laughing now.